Hi, I'm Iliana Limon-Romero here with Alicia DelGallo.
Hello.
Ready to talk some Orlando soccer, Orlando City, Orlando Pride, OCB, so much going on. Happy to be joined here with Alicia DelGallo, ready to talk all things soccer. Before we dive into your questions, which can still be shared with us via Twitter, at OS Lions is how you send them, or via Facebook Live. We're streaming now and you can send us questions through there. But before we get started into all your questions, which we're very excited about, Alicia, let's look back at last week. You had an opportunity to see both teams, which we were very excited about. First off, Orlando Pride, any thoughts on how things went having some, not all, but some of the Olympians back?
Yeah, so they had two Olympians back, Alex and Ashlyn, of course, and it went okay. Not exactly everything they were hoping for. You know, Tom said afterwards that the playoffs are probably not an option at this point. But you know, that's to be expected with the players coming back after such a long break. Kind of the team starting to try to gel together more. And Monica was also back, but she wasn't fit and hadn't worked with the team enough to play a full 90, so she subbed on. So they're still missing quite a few impact players. Monica will be back this week, as will Jose Belanger, who I got a chance to talk to about her Olympics today.
So there's still a lot for the Pride to gain out of closing out an expansion season on a high note. It is not stunning that they are probably not on track to make the playoffs. It's a tightly contested league, and you only have the top 4 teams. It's a little bit different than MLS with 12 moving forward. Much different stakes. But at the same time, I think the Pride still have a lot to gain from the end of this year, so we'll be talking more about them in a bit.
Yes.
Orlando City, quite an exciting week for them as well. It was going to be very busy. How did they fare? What were your thoughts on their performances?
You know, I think they handled the stretch of games really well. Now you're talking about 3 of the top teams in the league in just a little over a week span. Getting a draw at Colorado was huge for them, and that was a huge defensive performance for them as well. And then their game Wednesday night, they kind of carried over. They had, you know, defense wasn't as good, a few steps back, but you know, I don't want to say the excuse, but the talk was we were a little tired. They had significantly switched up the lineup, rotations of players to try to keep, you know, players' legs fresh for all of these games going forward. And then they go back against NYC FC, Jason Kreis's former team, and they pull out the victory, which everyone was very excited about. Jason was happy about. I wouldn't say he was excited afterwards.
I was going to say.
But he was happy.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that. So we know that had to feel good. It's the team that chose to fire him, chose to part ways and change directions, and ultimately had some success, is near the top of the table. And Jason ended up landing on his feet with Orlando City after some time away from soccer. So it's an opportunity. Orlando City needs a playoff push, needs to win that game. They go out and they give a strong performance and earn the win.
Yeah.
Kreis would not tell you that it was special, that it was unique.
You know, at this point, I almost believe him because he said it so many times throughout the week that, you know, I asked him one more time in the press conference because I thought, you know, a lot of coaches maintain their cool leading up to games. It's just another game. You know, we're focused one game at a time, those types of phrases. So I asked him one more time after the game thinking he might show a little more emotion towards it, but he said no. He said, no, the opponent doesn't matter. I'm just happy about our performance and our improvements that I've seen and that we got the win. It doesn't matter that the win was against NYC. Well, about 30 seconds later in the locker room, Kaká said pretty much the opposite, and that it was a really special night because of that. So, and that they were happy to win for him.
I'm going to guess that Kaká is probably closer to accurate on the overall sentiment. And here's the thing. If you concede that, yes, it felt good to get that win, they play them so often.
Yeah.
They play them so often that the next time you get a loss or the next time that the series comes up, you're going to be asking the same questions. It's going to start to become more and more and more of a distraction. So even though there was probably great relief for like, yeah, got that win, I don't think it's something that you can really show. So I get it. But anyway, promising signs from the team, promising signs from Kaká.
Yes.
Huge performance, big opportunity, nice momentum for them as they get a little bit of a break and then another busy stretch. So all games are important. Everything is pretty much a really big deal at this point for that team. So
For both teams, because even though the Pride, you know, Tom's not expecting to make the playoffs, there is that little minuscule chance that mathematically everything happens to fall into place perfectly. It's not completely in their hands. But if they were to win their next 3 matches and all this other sorts of crazy stuff happened, there's
I feel like we're missing a gift, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's go into questions. Thank you so much to those who submitted in advance to @OS Lions. You can keep submitting questions. We will take some stoppage time questions near the end of this and also take some from Facebook Live. All right, first question from Mike Paz @Mike J. Paz. Considering the first game in the new stadium is about 6 months away, will the stadium have a corporate sponsor? Clock is ticking.
Right, so I actually asked Phil Rollins about this probably about a month ago, and he said that yes, they're hoping and expecting to have some big names competing to be the stadium sponsor. So you can expect the stadium to have a name and a sponsor and all of that moving forward, and I'm assuming that should come together pretty quickly, seeing as though we're about, like he said, 6 months away from the next season.
Yeah, we've seen stadiums pull off signing, changes pretty quickly, though. You can get some signage up pretty fast. So it's not something that's going to be holding up the stadium. They've gone to some creative financing with this venue that we've documented some of, just some different ways to bring the money together. And I expect this group to continue to be innovative, and certainly would not think that they would leave any sponsorship opportunity on the table if they had it. So. All right, next question in the lineup. Kyle Meardo @MeardsBeards. Everyone, Meardsbeards. Where is Rivas in Chris's mind? A striker or winger? He needs playing time. So Carlos Rivas, thoughts on where he's at?
It's really tough to tell because he hasn't gotten the playing time. I would see him working more into the attacking midfield than at forward, because you've seen Christ favors Julio Baptista going in for Kyle Aaron if necessary, Haji Berry as well. So I think probably, I think there's he has so many other options at wing and at forward right now that I think Rivas is just kind of in limbo.
All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting part of the process. We talk about the playoff push, but then also at the end of the season, we're going to see where people stand, exactly see how things move along. But he's one of those players that I'm very curious to see what the long-term vision is, and we won't know that for a while. It'll be good to see that at the end of the year. All right, next question. We have from Trey Helwig @Trey Helwig. Same goes for Higuita and Pedro. Where will they fit? So Christian Higuita, Pedro Ribeiro, who you had a great update on. So interesting to hear about the painful challenges of that back injury. But thoughts on Higuita and Ribeiro?
Okay, so Ribeiro, as I said in the story that ran today online, you can find that on OrlandoSentinel.com. Pedro is recovering well, and he's getting closer and closer and closer. He is hoping to be back playing with OCB within the next 10 days, and he's really, his goal is to fight for a spot in the lineup in any way, shape, or form possible before the end of the season. So I got a chance to talk to Bobby Murphy a little bit about him and what he brings and where he could fit with this team, and Bobby said the good thing about Pedro is that he's very versatile. They can put him in when Kyle Aaron needs a break. They can put him in at any of the 3 positions in the attacking midfield. So Pedro would be a huge asset for them. Another massive guy. You're talking about 6'4", over 200 pounds. So he's a big guy, and he's very technically capable, and he's very versatile. So he is someone that I think could be an asset for them if he can get back with the first team into, first team fitness by the end of the year.
Huge. And then we had one other question on there besides Pedro.
Oh, Higuita. Yeah. Clearly, Christ favors Notarino and Servando Carrasco over Higuita right now. I think part of that is the leadership skills on the field. He has mentioned leadership skills in relation to both Notarino and Carrasco, and I think that's what he feels he needs in the defensive midfield right now. So Servando, he said, has been really helpful. His bilingual skills, he's been able to bring the team and the players from different backgrounds together on and off the field. And he also asked Notarino, as a veteran, along with Kaká, along with David Mateos, to be a more vocal leader on the field. And Notarino has accepted and bought into that role and started to try to do that for him. So Higuita, again, he's one of those players. You got used to seeing him as an everyday starter. He was dynamic and fierce in the defensive midfield, but Christ is favoring more leadership style veterans in that position right now.
All right, this will be very interesting to see how people try to earn those spots, how to prove that they can fit into that rotation, because he's established the baseline and we go from there. One quick programming note for people who are watching on OrlandoSentinel.com or who are streaming on Facebook Live. OrlandoSentinel.com has had a few glitches today. We have a few ads on our site that are causing a few script issues. I noticed a question on our Facebook Live chat that's coming up. If you switch over to Facebook Live or if you just give it a chance to refresh, we're working through those issues at the moment. We appreciate you hanging with us. You can continue submitting questions via @OS Lines. Again, via Facebook Live. I'm obviously checking right now as we continue in the show. All right, so let's take our next Twitter question that had rolled in advance. Again, from Kyle Meardo, @MeardsBeards. Will our new signings for the Pride play next game?
All right, so 2 exciting new signings. We have Lisa DeVanna, the Australian national team captain, and then we have a rookie in Berryhill who is coming in on defense, as Steph Catley is on the season-ending disabled list. So Berryhill comes in today. She'll be in training tomorrow, and she will travel with the team. So whether Tom thinks that she can fit in and he'll need her and use her this weekend is to be determined. He'll make that decision during the game, but she will be there and she will be an option for that. Lisa will not be there. She's expected to come in next week.
All right, very interesting. I'm very curious to see how they fit together, and I think what you see in those last few games, as much as if by any chance it's not for a playoff spot, you're still looking at people competing for roster spots in general.
Yeah. They're
going through the same end-of-year rotation, so should still be some pretty exciting soccer.
Yes.
All right, next question. emark21, from @emark21. Why does Kyle Larin wear a brace on his wrist? Are we still not allowed to say benched? Will Ribeiro play again this year? So let's go in order. Larin, this is a popular question that comes up.
It's not a brace for any injury reason. It's like a compression thing, and it's just more comfortable for him to wear it, and it's not anything to worry about. So it's just one of those, you see sleeves, guys wearing the compression sleeves on shoulders or legs or knees or whatever. He wears it on his wrist.
He does get jostled a lot, and he does get taken to the ground quite a bit, so it's understandable. But as someone who mainly watches the games on television, it stands out. It's very noticeable because you see so few players with anything actually on their arms. It's mostly leg related.
I know, and I've asked, is the wrist sore more often? Is that why you wear a compression wrist? And he's really quiet about it, and he's just like, no, I like it.
There you go. All right, so we had a couple of other questions in that list. Are we still not allowed to say benched? I don't think so. I don't think that's ever going to change.
I mean, I still put benched in my story.
Of course.
I still say benched. But I don't think it's ever going to change that Jason Christ doesn't want people to say benched. He would prefer the term, I don't know what term he would prefer because I never really asked him, but I'm guessing he would prefer the term substitute, used as a substitute, or substitutes instead of the bench.
Yeah, I think he just sees it as a negative connotation. Understood.
Right. And I mean, the way that he's been operating the team recently, saying that someone was benched for a game may not be entirely accurate, because it may not be because they've lost their starting role or they've done anything wrong. It may just be that he's rotating the lineup and tinkering with things. So, but I mean, in some of your main guys, when Breck Shea isn't in the starting lineup for 2 games, I think you can say he was benched.
I think that's a safe assessment. But I do get he wants to be able to show the difference and put less pressure on the players and have less negativity associated with their actions. So, okay, there you go. All right, last question we sort of touched on, but based on the interview, he seems optimistic. Does Pedro seem optimistic that he's going to get that chance to slide in before the end of the season?
Yeah, he does. He really does seem optimistic that he will be able to compete for a spot on the field, and he's aware that it's competitive right now, and he's aware of that he still has a long way to go. Just a few weeks ago, he was still walking pretty stiffly. He's still working on. He's not getting tackled in training sessions. He's working closely with a trainer who is tackling him and getting him off balance and working on those types of things right now. So he's still not there yet, but he is optimistic that he'll be back by the end of the season, fighting for an opportunity to play with the first team.
Very good. All right. Again, we're still taking some questions. You can tweet at OSLions if you want to get those in. And we'll take the next one that was sent to us in advance. This is from Trey Helwig, at Trey Helwig. What formation do we play in anyways? ESPN, Fox, MLS, OC, and your tweets all conflict. 4-4-2 or still 4-2-3-1? Why the discrepancies? The formations are one of the most amusing things to me because we hang on to them so closely, but in reality, it doesn't seem as prominent.
So the discrepancies, I mean, when you're talking about national media, they're not here every day working with the team to actually, know what they're trying to go for and what the formation will be. So they might have some discrepancies there if they're not as familiar with the team. I think that Orlando City's site and myself and the OS Lions account are typically accurate. There are some times, I believe, 2 or 3 games ago, which game? The Colorado game, where I wasn't there, and someone from Orlando City said that they were lining up in 4-4-2 when that was actually not true. So we did get a little help before I answer it, and we did get a little help answering this question today. So can we pull up? OC Prez weighed in and wanted to let you know, Trey, that it is 4-2-3-1, and OC Prez has the final word.
That's what they're calling it.
So they're calling it a 4-2-3-1. It typically is a 4-2-3-1. I think a lot of people get confused because the formation can be fluid. Sometimes you can see Julio Baptista if he's playing in center, or Kaká playing higher up the field. And Christ was known for a 4-4-2. So a lot of times when the lineup is released in the beginning of the game and the actual formation isn't released, and you see 2 forwards, if Julio is in or Haji is in, people might assume it's a 4-4-2 when in actuality it's a 4-2-3-1.
All right. So good insight there. I will say, like I said, during the course of the game, they can come out of shape quite often, and it's not necessarily, sometimes that's a bad thing.
Whether that's good or bad.
Whether that's intentional or not, they do. Yeah. And sometimes it's within the flow of the game, and when it's a 2-1 win, well, then everybody's quite happy about it. But when it's not, there are challenges. So I think it's going to continue to evolve, and will be interesting to watch. All right, next question via Twitter. Victor, at VicRiv08. Any update on Ramos besides him playing the 1 game with OCB?
Yeah, he actually played another game with OCB as well, and he is fully embedded with the first team in training sessions. So I think that this break is coming at a good time. They have like 9 days in between games. So I would expect, with as close as he's been and how frequently he's played games with OCB, I would expect him to be ready for Montreal, but I will be talking to Jason Christ tomorrow to get an official update on him.
All right, very good. It'll be interesting to see how that's going. They do get this nice break after having that tough stretch, but then it does get compressed again because it's a West Coast swing and 2 games very close together that all are going to be very important. All right, next question via Twitter. Ian F. at IFNORL. Great win, but still trouble getting actual scoring compared to total chances. Is this just the cap this season?
I don't think so. I think that what you're seeing, I mean, when you're watching a game and Kyle Larin has literally like 5 chances to score and only 1 or none go in, I know that it can be frustrating, but I think it's a product of still trying to get everything that they're learning under Jason, that they're changing under Jason, and working in the new players that they have brought in and the changes that they're making in the lineup. I think it's a product of that. And, 2 goals from Kaká, I think that's pretty good for the amount. I know they had significant chances, and I think, Kyle could have scored one of those, Molino thing, but I think they're on the right track, and I don't think it's necessarily a cap this season.
I don't think so either. There's too many missed opportunities in the last few games, in particular for Kyle Larin, in my opinion, where he's had good looks, and I'm not saying that's a knock on him. No. He's under a lot of pressure. He's got a lot of people hanging off of him, but he's still getting decent looks. It's not as though they're not getting anything.
Well, I mean, one of Kaká's goals was a rebound off of a Kyle Larin shot, so that just goes to show you, he has a lot of people on him, and just because in games that he doesn't score or on chances that he doesn't score, frees up other people to score because everyone's focused on him.
Right. All right. Next question that we have rolling in on Twitter. Ian F. IF in ORL. Orlando Biz Journal reported the Rollins family sold their house, business or personal. And just to tack onto this, maybe to clarify a little bit, saw a couple more tweets directly at OC Prez asking, are you leaving? Are you moving? What's going on? A little bit of panic set in with a housing transaction. What can you share with us?
Yeah, so I don't think it's anything to worry about. OC Prez isn't going anywhere. I haven't spoken with him directly yet, but I have heard that he has another house already in the area, and that it was just the sale of the house. He's not leaving town, probably business and personal, because I'm sure he made some money off of the sale of his house. But yeah, it's not anything to worry about.
I also wouldn't be alarmed by the travel. When I previously interviewed Kay Rollins, one of her favorite things to do, she told me, is to travel. So they love being able to have that opportunity. And I, quite frankly, would love to have been in New York with them to go see the U.S. Open. Sure, why not? You've got a stretch without games. Enjoy it. So
yep.
Not necessarily a reason to be alarmed if you want to see him staying with the club. All right, next question. Jay Madlener at Sock99. What is OCSD relationship with SUM?
So I'm guessing he means Soccer United Marketing, which is SUM, and they have a partnership. So
okay. That's their relationship.
Yep.
All right.
And
so
pretty simple.
Hit us back if you have any further follow-up questions on that. We're happy to clarify.
You want to elaborate a little bit more.
We're happy to clarify and answer any follow-up questions on it. So don't hesitate to hit at OS Lions. All right, do we have any other questions left in the queue? Yep. We do. Jay Madlener, does OCSC have their choreographed plays movements in their attacking third?
Oh, absolutely. They work on combination play all of the time. Anytime you see a nice combination play between Kaká and Kyle or MPG or Kevin Molino, those are things that they constantly work on in training sessions. And I would guess that the majority of teams do.
Yeah, I think that's pretty consistent. It would be lovely if that just all came together organically.
Yeah,
that actually takes a ton of practice. And we've seen in games where you can actually see them telegraphed, where they're trying to get something started over and over again, and then when it finally works, you're like, oh, that did
worked.
finally work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty consistent across the board. All right, next question. Caleb Smith, at A Bit Ambitious.
I like it.
I like it. It's a new one. Welcome, Caleb. Glad to have the question. Fans want to know when he is going to start doing a weekly radio spot like Inchi did on 96.9 The Game. So, Jason, guys, looking for a coach's show, wanting to know when he's going to do, in addition to regular stuff with Orlando City, show up on Open Mic with Mike Bianchi.
I think that might take a little while for him to show up regularly. I know that he is still trying to really focus on just getting comfortable and settled here in Orlando, and I know that even there was a weekly television show with their TV partners that Adrian did that Jason is now rotating with some of the assistant coaches because they're still really focused and trying not to be distracted from the goal and from the team and getting everyone together and making this final playoff push at this season. So I think all of the media things that Adrian did and felt comfortable doing after spending so much time in Orlando and so many years with the media members here, I think that might take a little more time to develop.
Yeah, just to make it clear, it's not even just OCB system you want to have in place so it's migrating naturally from the bottom to the top. There's a lot of things, a lot of stuff. And we already thought that Orlando City was being pretty ambitious with all the things that the club itself overall was trying. And so when you have someone new come in mid-season, that's a lot of stuff. So it will be interesting to see next year at the start of next season. I think that's when we can start to get a real feel for.
And also Adrian was, like I said, was really comfortable with media and just really open to doing those types of things. So I think a little bit of shift in personality, a little bit of time to get acclimated.
Also, Adrian loved all sports, like everything, loved consuming all sorts of sports. And Jason has, right away in his first interview on Open Mic said, I don't even really watch football. I don't really follow it as much. So he's very soccer focused. And as a result, that's going to narrow some of those interview opportunities as well, because he's very driven and directed and focused on all things Orlando City, which I think is
fine.
It's fine. That's where they need him. Yeah. That's where they need the attention. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Do we have any others that have rolled in? McMarston at Mc_Marston. What will be the CB pairing going forward? Aja and Mateos have played well together, so will they get another start versus Montreal?
And, I really liked Aja and Mateos, but I don't think you can count Tommy Redding out yet. He was just filling in. Jason said that Kevin Olsen looked like he was going to die, literally, after he'd been playing so many minutes. He was one of the only players that hadn't gotten relief through subs or anything like that, or rotations. So that's why he opted to put Tommy Redding out there. Tommy is looking forward to getting back to center back because he said he's a born and bred center back and he was a little out of his comfort zone. But I don't think you can count Tommy out. But I did like the Aja Mateos pairing as well.
It clicked. It really clicked. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes moving forward. But it's good to see options. It's good to see versatility there and see what people can do.
It's just good to see the center backs performing well in general.
Yeah, that too. That too. All right, so my dream formation obviously is at some point Aja to Kaká. You know that, right?
What?
Aja, Kaká.
Yeah.
It's too easy. All right, next question. Do we have anything else? McMarston. At Mc_Marston, will Larin and Molino miss any games due to them being called up for World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah. So here's the deal. A little bit of background for those of you who don't know. Kevin Molino called up for Trinidad to play in 2 World Cup qualifiers this week, and one this week, one next. And Kyle Larin called up for Canada for the same reasons. Now, there is a little break. That's why there's a little break, and they're not playing a game this weekend. But unfortunately, they play World Cup qualifiers on Tuesday, and Orlando City has a game the following day. So the club has not confirmed that, yes, definitely they will miss the Montreal game, but here's the deal. Kevin Molino plays Tuesday in Jacksonville. Depending on how many minutes he plays, how exhausted he is afterwards and things like that, there is a possibility that he were to leave and fly to Montreal immediately after the game. Kyle Larin, on the other hand, although they're saying there's a possibility for him too, I don't think there's a big chance of that happening because Canada plays in Vancouver the day before. So making a cross-country trip is going to be a lot different than making a 2.5-hour flight up to Montreal. So in my opinion, don't expect to see Kyle Larin in the Montreal game. Kevin Molino, if it were possible to see him, I would guess as a substitute.
Know your geography. Even though the game's in Canada, too far.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. McMarston at Mc_Marston. Thank you for all these questions. Any insight into how the club feels about OCB? Have they exceeded expectations, or are they right where they expected them to be?
I think they're right where they expected them to be. Yeah. I think that they're doing well. The development side of things is a really important part, and you've seen they signed 2 OCB players. So right there shows you that they're happy with the progress and things that are happening with OCB.
Rehab assignments have happened. Players have developed. There's some continuity between what the top club is doing and what OCB is doing. There's definitely
and with what the academy is doing.
And with what the academy is doing, there's definitely some buy-in across the board. So I think it's pretty much been exactly what they'd hoped for. Of course, you want to win every game. Right. They love trophies. They are not opposed to those. So of course you want to.
Who doesn't love trophies?
I mean, come on. But in terms of just having that accessibility,
won a trophy in a while.
Yeah, having that accessibility, having all those opportunities, definitely a big thing. Yeah, you need to get in a fantasy football league with some trophies.
Oh, I'm in it. No, we just get money.
Okay, well, I like money more than trophies. All right.
My draft is Saturday.
Good luck with that. All right, do we have any other questions? McMarston again, Mc_Marston. There's been a lot of mix-up in the squad. Was that because of the rough stretch, or is it what we should expect to see going forward? Well, I mean, yeah, both. I would think.
Well, I touched on it a little bit earlier. Jason said that there was going to be a lot of mix-up going into that week. He said he was going to rotate players, and that was only to keep legs fresh to try to make it through this week without people dying, like apparently Alston did. So that was part of like the rotation of players, but I think part of that also was good for him because he got to see how different groups of players reacted together and worked together moving forward to see what the best combination is on the field. So I think he might see a little bit settled down more than this past week, which was like 5 new starters in each lineup, but I think there will still be a little bit of movement.
I think that's one of the blessings for a new coach is you get a clean slate. You get to do whatever you want. Whatever expectations were in the past, that's out the door. That already happened. Everybody gets new opportunities. You get to try different things that might have been a little more difficult to get people to accept if you were a long-time established coach where people just kind of get into their defined roles and get upset about changing those. So I think his belief in fresh legs, I think his belief in defense and the way they emphasize it is probably going to lead to maybe a little more mix-up than people have been used to in the past with Orlando City, but maybe not as much as they saw in that one-week stretch. So be interesting to see. All right, do we have any more tweets lined up? Trey Helwig, at Trey Helwig. Will Iliana let you go to Canada, LA, and DC this month? Sort of.
Whoa, what?
You're going to Canada.
Canada and LA are already booked.
Done.
What is this sort of for DC?
I'm not sure about DC. We'll have to see.
That's
Here's the
such an
deal.
easy
Here's the deal for
trip.
Alicia and for everyone else. Orlando Sentinel is all in with Orlando City, but it certainly is helpful when this team is still in playoff contention. So when Orlando City wins, Alicia wins. Travel is good to go. So we'll keep working on it. Look, we've been very committed to traveling as a publication. We have traveled to more Major League Soccer games in the past 2 years than any other paper or publication in the country combined. Like, it's just not even close.
I'm going to go to DC.
So the other way you can help Alicia is you can follow her content. You can click on her articles. You can watch the videos. You can continue to do that. That is a huge help. It's a huge boost. It's your way of showing
you can
that.
just sit for half an hour and re-click on all this stuff.
No. Not only that, you need to share it on social media. You need to tell all your friends because if this gets traffic, if it doesn't get blown out of the water by Florida State and Florida and UCF football when it gets started, if we show that Orlando City and Orlando soccer is important to readers through your visits, through your page views, through your clicks, then we will be able to demonstrate that, yes, absolutely, Alicia should be on the road for every single game.
We can do it.
Go get them. All right, next question. McMarston, at Mc_Marston. How likely is it that other OCB players, De Silva, Cox, Turner, Donovan, etc., are called up to the senior team for next season?
So it's really going to depend on what Christ does in the offseason and the movements he makes and the players he brings in and gets rid of. I think that there's a huge chance that more OCB players are called up next season because Christ has shown his dedication to developing young players and creating that pipeline between OCB and MLS, and he really believes in it. And he's already having those players frequently train with the first team. So I think there's a high possibility that you're going to see at least, 1 or 2 more names from OCB called up next season.
All right, so it'll be interesting to see. I think, this is a big stretch for everyone involved, and as mentioned, it's not just the playoff push, but it's how players perform. This is your big audition. What are you going to do with it? We'll see. All right, next question on Twitter. Do we have anything else in the lineup?
That's
All
it.
right, we're ready for some stoppage time questions. Checking Facebook Live. Nope, still no questions over there. We appreciate you watching on Facebook Live. I know some people said that they had some feed issues, but it looks like it's running strong for us.
Okay.
And any late questions via at OS Lions?
What do we have? We have a lot.
Ooh, exciting.
I think those feed issues we're talking about the homepage of Orlando Sentinel.
Right.
Which is what we already know.
Right. Yeah, we had some feed issues on OrlandoSentinel.com. Again, if you were watching there and had any issues watching the feed, thanks for hanging in because you're watching me right now, first of all. But second, yes, we are working on it. It's just an ad script that has caused some issues for us. It's definitely something we are working aggressively to take care of. All right, so Alicia's checking out some questions. Do we just have 1 or 2 we might be able to pull out? Maybe. Definitely. Ooh. Alicia's reviewing. Oh, look at the magic. Lost in thought. All right. Anything on the list? Some of these you may be able to just answer directly if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to answer most of them directly afterwards. But there's one pride question that I wanted to get in.
All right.
I actually forgot to retweet it from the video. We need to retweet from the video account, or I just retweeted it from OS Lions?
Video account.
Just go ahead and read it out.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and read out the question.
All right. Update on when Davana will arrive, and if there is time, what's up with Alloway's injury? Will she play Saturday?
All right. So,
Okay.
question
So-
about Lisa Davana. You
Yep.
touched on just a little bit. When is she coming?
So she will arrive next week. There's been more paperwork, hold-ups. Tom Sermani told me that he started this process with Davana on July 25th.
Wow.
And this is how long there's been so many setbacks. He has not been happy with this process, but she is finally going to get here next week. So expect that. Everyone's excited for that. And Alloway is still week to week. And I don't think that she'll be playing on Saturday, but I will be getting an update for sure tomorrow.
All right, it'll be interesting to see. Still, even despite her absence, I think they've had a little bit of time to work together and see how the group can try to improve. And there's a chance, as we said. All right, let's close this out. Let's look ahead to what's coming up for both teams. Orlando Pride plays at Houston Saturday. What are you looking forward to seeing? What do the Pride need to accomplish out there?
They need to win. They're hoping to win. There has been, Tom said, there's been a little bit of a change in the feeling in the club, knowing that, they're not in control of making the playoffs anymore. But he said nobody is going into training with sad faces or anything. Everyone's still really motivated, and so they really want to close out the season strong. They want the 3 points in Houston, and they have a tough matchup with Carly Lloyd back.
Right, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see. Houston has been more competitive than I think people anticipated with Carly Lloyd out, and now that she's back in, it'll be quite the matchup. Very interesting to watch. And now Orlando City, a little bit of a break, but then they get right back to it with a very tough swing. It's going to postpone our show for just a little bit because you are going to be on the road as requested, as mentioned. So what can you tell us before you leave about these two matchups?
Yeah, I'll be on the road. I'm going to Montreal, and these are huge matchups. You're talking about an Eastern Conference rivalry, LA Galaxy, of course, a huge game. And they'll be training in LA. They may train in Montreal the day after the game, but after that they'll be training in LA, and I'll also be at those training sessions. I talked with them, so I'll be able to get you guys updates on everything that goes on. But these are massive games for them. Pretty much they've been flirting with the playoff cut line. They get a win and they bump over it, and then DC United wins as well, and everybody else wins, and they go right back to 7th place. So getting points on these two matches are crucial to keep this playoff hopes alive.
All right, so it'll be very interesting to see. As I mentioned, if you want to keep Alicia on the road, you need to keep reading her articles, watching the videos, and give her lots of feedback on how things are going. You can find her at OS Lines and at OS Alicia D on Twitter. I think we might see some snaps from the Orlando Sentinel account.
Probably, yes.
Some Facebook updates. So lots of different opportunities and avenues to keep up with all things Orlando soccer. We are going to take a 1-week hiatus because we won't have our soccer insider in the studio with us. But the following week we will have a mega show where we will recap all of her journey and look ahead to what's next for both clubs. So you can keep firing questions to @OS Lions. She'll keep answering them as she goes. With Alicia DelGallo, I'm Iliana Limon-Romero, and thanks for joining us at OrlandoSentinel.com.
Thanks.